Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlickers, shills, deathly serfs, peasants, vassals, minions, meat sacks. I'm Useful Idiot. Welcome. And I'd like to give my hats off to other channels that do good work because I try to be informative and present value. And there's a handful of channels out there that also present a lot of value and that I've enjoyed quite a bit. And a lot of channels kind of come and go. They are relevant at a particular time and then no longer become relevant. A couple of good examples of that are Officer Tatum. I really enjoyed his discussion of race issues, but it seems like about 20% of his videos are about merchandising and creating his Officer Tatum empire. So I unsubscribed from him. And Joseph Peter Watson's another one where he has great points, but also has sales pitches and commercials, and his shtick is just kind of getting old. But I don't want to take away from the fact that both of them have really good points, and there's still some value there. But overall, I've been watching a lot of different pundits and people channels on YouTube over the last 20 plus years, and some really rise above. And I'm sticking mostly to YouTube. I'm now posting on BitChute and Rumble as well, trying to create my own media empire and raise awareness that I'm out there. But YouTube will still be my main vehicle, and it's just pure laziness. It has a vast audience. It's really easy to interact with, and it's easy for me to reply to comments and things like that, even though I know YouTube is an evil empire. And in fact, I will be doing a video on everything that's wrong with YouTube because there's a lot wrong with YouTube, especially if you look at its journey. But a couple notable channels that have been censored and are no longer on YouTube are the Corbett Report, which is one of the best channels ever as far as providing great information on topics, historical context, and the like, and delivered in a very sober way. And just a great amount of information gathered. And like myself, there's no partisan affinity. And another channel that got squeezed off of YouTube, and it's inexplicable. I mean, some of these channels, it's amazing what gets censored and what doesn't on YouTube. And these two channels I'm talking about now are prime examples. Stephen Molyneux had the highest rated philosophy program in the world and presented wonderful videos full of information and not only on current events and politics and economics, but uh, philosophy. And it was sad to see both of them removed. It's hard for me to access their material now because, once again, I'm basically kind of lazy. I don't really have the time to make the effort to search down their material on other platforms. It's just much more convenient for me to use YouTube. But some of the great channels that are still on YouTube that I find have a lot of value, particularly in the ocean of swill that's out there. As far as economics, the two channels I recommend are This is John Williams and The Money GPS. And both of them get a little long-winded, and there's some advertising on them as well. But both are really great as far as providing very sober and accurate ideas, concepts, and current events about economics. And once again, it's sad that both of those have a certain amount of advertising, but and also there's a little bit of clickbait to their headlines. But that's kind of what's necessary in the world of YouTube to gather an audience. I'm sure I'm going to be having, well, I've already had some provocative headlines, and it's not so much about clickbait for me. I like to use a lot of profanity, and I like to be dramatic and funny too. So anyway, the Money GPS. This is John Williams for economics. For satire about current events, there's some great channels. Babylon Bee, of course, is always excellent and just absolutely biting. And then Rageaholic is wonderful. It's amazing with his incredibly acerbic and dramatic presentations that he actually nails things. He's got quite a intellect, and I have nothing but respect for him. And it's just a total hoot to watch his rants. And then another one is Another Stupid Week, and he's been doing great work. They're very short, which I like. I don't have much time to invest in watching long material anymore. I got my own things to do. But Another Stupid Week takes every current event and puts it in a concise, viewable form, and totally makes fun of it. And like me, he likes to use a lot of profanity and be acerbic, and of course, I love that. And then one of my favorite YouTube channels of all time is on right now. It's Damon Amani, his channel Catch Up, where he uses great movie magic software to interject himself on shows like The View and the WEF conferences and things like that. And he just nails it. Once again, I love the fact that it's short and sweet. He makes his point very pointedly, very quickly. And I also have a lot of respect for the man. He was born and raised originally in Iran, and he kind of knows what he's talking about when he watches current developments in the United States. As far as geopolitics, one of the continuing best channels, and even his old work is worth watching, is the Caspian Report. Once again, he's just very sober. There's no drama to it. He has a vast amount of knowledge, and definitely worth watching if you want to keep abreast on the reality, especially realpolitik. He doesn't have any allegiances per se, and gives a lot of information and a deep understanding of geopolitics around the globe. As far as history, etc., I know there's some great history channels out there, the History Guy, for example, but one of my favorite channels and one of my favorite intellects in American history is Thomas Sowell. And so subscribing to his channel um, um, is well worth it. He's mostly doing interviews and excerpts from his books, but what a giant intellect on every issue that he touches on. So anybody that wants to know anything should sign up for his channel. And as far as general current events, economics, geopolitics, politics, etc., kind of your day-to-day stuff, the Jimmy Dore channel is excellent. Once again, I love his profanity. I love his acerbic and brutal commentary. My only problem with that is the panel discussions, and they're just too long a lot of times. But he really nails it. And of course, I love the fact that he hates Republicans and Democrats. So a man after my own heart. John Stossel, a libertarian, always has wonderful presentations. Once again, they're very charming, so they're not very confrontational. But he, once again, cuts through the mustard on the bullshit that's out there so rampantly, and he's been doing that for a long time. And he's just a pleasure to listen to and hear what he has to say. And then Jake Tran does a great job covering a lot of big topics, and not to be missed. His latest one is on the Vietnamese billionaire that's ripped off $44 million, $44 billion worldwide in scams. And so once again, his stuff is very sober. He's very unbiased, and it's just great information if you're interested in some of those things. He doesn't post as often, which is good for me. I don't have a lot of time for people that post daily, even though I do. Black Pigeon Speaks has been posting for quite some time, and she has very wonderful, deep, broad discussions, kind of on a little more of a philosophical level, but really appreciate her work. And then I got to give my hats off to Sticks and Hexenhammer. I know I've had a few comments from some of my viewers that talk about, oh, they don't like Sticks and Hexenhammer because he's a Trump lover anymore. And that's a pretty simplistic view, and I don't really agree with it. I think he sees the strengths and the drawbacks of Trump. But I have an interesting relationship with Sticks and Hexenhammer because he came out when I was still doing videos, and I just couldn't understand why his viewership and view counts were exploding. because we essentially use the same format, just a guy talking in front of a camera. And I had a really hard time with his videos initially because he would ramble a lot, and a lot of his videos were, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And but I'm happy to say that he quickly got better at being a lot more succinct, and he's just got a great intellect, a nice casual bedside manner, and once again, he's just so knowledgeable and is so well spoken, and is it just sees everything very clearly. So I recommend him highly. And then just for a little levity, I also recommend the channel The Dodo because I love to watch touching stories about cats and dogs and other pets. And I pretty much cry every day when I watch a lot of these dodo videos. And a lot of them are very touching stories, and some of them are great. I mean, who could not love bulldogs that love to skateboard? So anyway, that's my roundup of channels that I recommend. I'm going to do a separate video on the basically the alternative news industrial complex because there really is just an explosion of what are called alternative news now, and it's just another racket. One guy I always like to pick on is Bo of the Fifth Column because he doesn't really offer much. He just kind of rambles. There's a lot of dead space. There's really not much information, and he's full on liberal. He completely buys the narrative without ever looking behind the screen. And yet, he has a great appeal to the bewildered herd. He has 1 million subscribers and gets 80 to 120,000 views per video. But he makes a living off of this stuff, so it's quite a racket. So he has every motivation to post as many videos as possible because the more videos he posts, the more money he makes. And then I have a problem with other kinds of YouTubers too. I used to really like the Rubin Report and Benny Johnson, but Benny Johnson has just exploded with his ego, and I'm your boy Benny, and that sort of nonsense. And it's just once again, he just seems like an opportunist who's cashing in. I like a lot of the material he presents, but it's just too hard to wade through his stuff. And then same thing with the Rubin Report. I mean, he's a little more sober, and I also enjoy his viewpoints, but I just don't really have time for it anymore. I can find other sources of that kind of material that are a little easier to swallow. So anyway, there's a wrap up. I want to give hat tips to people out there that are doing really good work. I'm not going to provide any links because I just don't do that anymore. I'm too lazy. And so do your homework if you want to find these channels. They're easy to find. And, put them on the docket along with yours truly. I am a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.